Commander Vexthal stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the star maps with satisfaction. The Caliph Dominion had been expanding for 300 years, and they had a perfect system. First, they sent ships across someone's border. Then, they waited to see what happened. Most species got angry and sent messages back and forth. They argued and made threats. Eventually, everyone sat down to negotiate, and the Caliph always walked away with something valuable: territory, resources, trading rights. It worked every single time. "Commander, we're approaching the human border," his navigation officer reported. Vexthal nodded. Humans. A young species, barely 200 years in space. They had scattered colonies and a small military fleet. The intelligence reports said they were peaceful, focused on exploration and building. Perfect targets for the Dominion's tested strategy. "Take us across the line," Vexthal ordered. Standard formation. 3 ships should be enough to make the point. The 3 Caliph warships crossed the invisible boundary that marked human territory. Each ship was massive, built for intimidation as much as combat. Dark metal hulls bristled with weapons. They moved slowly and deliberately into human space, heading toward the colony world called New Harmony. Within 20 minutes, a single human ship appeared on their sensors. "It's a patrol vessel, sir," the sensor officer said. "The UHSV Steadfast. Light armament, small crew. Should we lock weapons?" "Not yet," Vexthal said. "Let's hear what they have to say." A transmission request came through. Vexthal accepted it, expecting to see an angry or frightened human commander. Instead, a calm face appeared on the screen. The human wore a simple uniform with captain's insignia. His name tag read, Park Min-jun. "This is Captain Park of the United Human Space Vessel Steadfast," the human said. His voice was steady and formal. "You have violated sovereign human space. Turn your vessels around and return to your territory immediately. We do not give second warnings." Vexthal blinked. That was it? No demands for explanation? No threats? No opening for negotiation? "Captain Park," Vexthal said with a smile. "Surely we can discuss this situation. The Caliph Dominion means no harm. We're simply passing through this region to reach the asteroid fields beyond. Perhaps we could come to an arrangement?" Captain Park's expression didn't change. "You have received your warning. Turn back now." "And if we choose to continue?" Vexthal asked, still smiling. "Then you will face the consequences of your choice," Park said simply. "Turn back now." He ended the transmission. Vexthal laughed. His officers joined in. 1 small patrol ship against 3 Caliph warships. And the human thought, a simple warning, was enough? "Continue on course," Vexthal ordered. "Let's see what these humans really do when someone ignores their little warnings." The Steadfast didn't follow them. It didn't fire weapons or try to block their path. Captain Park simply transmitted their position, course, and violation status to something called Human Defense Command. Then the small ship turned and left the area. "They're running away, sir," the weapons officer said with satisfaction. "Of course they are," Vexthal replied. "It's always the same. They make noise, we ignore it, and then we negotiate. By tomorrow, we'll be sitting at a table with their diplomats, and we'll have access rights to those asteroid fields." But something bothered him. Captain Park hadn't seemed scared or angry. He'd seemed certain, like a person who had stated a simple fact and saw no need to repeat it. "Sir, should we perhaps slow down?" asked Min Shah, one of the junior officers. That human was very clear about what? Vexthal interrupted. "Making threats his tiny ship can't back up? This is how it always goes, Min Shah. You're young. You'll learn. Every species does this dance. They protest. We persist. Everyone negotiates. It's civilized. It's how spacefaring cultures interact." Min Shah nodded, but didn't look convinced. The 3 Caliph ships continued deeper into human space. Hours passed. No more human ships appeared. No more transmissions came. The silence was complete. "Scanning New Harmony's outer system now, sir," the sensor officer reported. "The colony appears to be standard. Population about 3 million. Light, defensive platforms. Nothing that could threaten us." Vexthal felt his confidence grow. This would be even easier than he'd thought. "Open a channel to the colony." He prepared his standard speech. The Xy'lar Dominion required certain accommodations, docking privileges, perhaps a small tribute of refined materials. In exchange, they'd provide protection and favorable trading status. It was the same speech he'd given a dozen times to a dozen different species. "Channel open, sir. This is Commander Vexthal of the Xy'lar Dominion," he began. "We have established our presence in this system and wish to discuss terms of—" The channel cut off. "Sir, they've blocked our transmission," the communications officer said, confused. "Then send it again." "I've tried, sir. They're not refusing it. They're just not accepting any communications from us at all." Vexthal frowned. This was unusual. Species always wanted to talk, even if they were angry. Especially if they were angry. "Keep trying. And send a message to the nearest Dominion outpost. Tell them we've encountered minor resistance but expect to have the situation resolved within a day." But as the hours passed, the silence from the humans continued. It wasn't the silence of fear. It was something else. Something that reminded Vexthal of the way Captain Park had looked at him. Like a teacher who had explained something once and saw no reason to repeat it. The Xy'lar ships took up position in New Harmony's outer system and waited. Vexthal expected human diplomats to arrive, or perhaps more military ships to posture and make threats. That was how these things worked. 6 hours after their arrival, his sensor officer suddenly sat up straight. "Sir, I'm detecting multiple ships entering the system. Human vessels." "How many?" Vexthal asked. "And what class?" 17 ships total, sir." "But—" The officer paused, checking his readings again. "They're not warships. They're engineering vessels. Construction ships. Salvage haulers. Engineering ships?" Vexthal was confused. Why would they send— A transmission request came through. This time, it wasn't a captain. The uniform was more formal, the insignia higher ranking. The name tag read, "Admiral Sarah Chen." "Commander Vexthal," Admiral Chen said. Her voice was cold and flat. The transmission ended before Vexthal could respond. "Sir, what did she—" his weapons officer started to ask. Then every alarm on the bridge started screaming at once. "Jump drives are offline. I can't restart them. Weapons systems locked. We're being jammed. Shields fluctuating. Something's interfacing with our computer core. Rend. Rend." Vexthal grabbed his command chair as the ship shuddered. Through the view screen, he saw the human engineering ships approaching, not attacking. Something worse. They were positioning themselves around his 3 warships with the calm efficiency of workers at a job site. "All crew, this is the commander," Vexthal said into the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for—" His communications officer looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, the humans are broadcasting instructions for our crew to evacuate to life pods. They're promising safe recovery and transport home." Vexthal stared at the view screen as the first human ship extended mechanical arms toward his vessel's hull. The arms ended in cutting tools and grapplers. Through his sensors, he watched those tools begin to methodically, carefully, efficiently take his warship apart. The humans weren't going to negotiate. They weren't even going to fight. They were going to dismantle his fleet, piece by piece, as calmly as one might disassemble a broken machine. Captain Park's words echoed in his mind. "We do not give second warnings." For the first time in his career, Commander Vexthal realized that his perfect strategy had just met a species that didn't play by the rules he knew. 4 hours later, Commander Vexthal floated in a life pod with his senior officers, watching through the small window as his warship ceased to exist. The human engineering ships worked with mechanical precision. They cut through hull plating, separated engine sections, and stored each component in cargo vessels. There was no anger in their movements, no triumph, just cold, methodical efficiency. "This is insane," his weapons officer muttered. "They can't just destroy our ships. This is an act of war." "They're not destroying them," Minsha said quietly. The junior officer stared out another window. "They're dismantling them, saving every piece. I don't think they've damaged anything they don't have to. They won. They won. They won." A human recovery ship approached their lifepod cluster. A docking tube extended and sealed with a soft hiss. A voice came through the comm system, speaking perfect Caliph. "This is the UHSV Mercy. We're here to retrieve you. Please proceed through the docking tube in an orderly fashion. You will not be harmed. You will receive food, water, and medical attention as needed." Vexthal had no choice. His pod had perhaps 6 more hours of life support. He led his officers through the tube and into the human ship. The interior was clean and well lit. Human crew members waited, but none carried weapons. They wore medical insignia and engineering uniforms. A medic scanned each Caliph with a handheld device. "You're all healthy," the medic said in Caliph language. "Please follow Officer Kim to the guest quarters." Guest quarters. Not cells. Not a brig. Quarters. Officer Kim was a young human woman who smiled politely as she led them down a corridor. "We've prepared rooms with environmental controls set to Caliph standards. There's a dining area where you can request meals. The medical bay is available if anyone needs treatment." "Where are you taking us?" Vexthal demanded. "To the main diplomatic vessel," Kim replied. "Admiral Chen wants to speak with you, personally." They were given rooms that were comfortable and secure but clearly locked from the outside. Vexthal sat on the bed and tried to process what had happened. In 4 hours, the Caliph Dominion had lost 3 warships without a single shot fired, without a single casualty. It was unprecedented. A chime sounded at his door. "Commander Vexthal, Admiral Chen will see you now." 2 human officers escorted him to a meeting room. It wasn't an interrogation chamber. It was a simple conference room, with a table, chairs, and a view screen showing the space where his fleet had been. Only debris fields remained now. Admiral Chen entered. She was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She sat across from Vexthal and folded her hands on the table. "Let me be clear about something," Chen said without preamble. "You and your crew are not prisoners of war. We're not at war. You're trespassers who ignored a lawful warning. You'll be returned to Caliph space unharmed within 3 days." "You destroyed our ships," Vexthal said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We dismantled them," Chen corrected. "And we'll sell the components to recoup our operational costs. Your crews are safe. You're alive. But your ships violated our territory after being explicitly warned. This isn't how civilized species handle border disputes." Chen's expression didn't change. "Commander, let me explain something about human culture. When we say something once, we mean it. Completely. Absolutely. We don't make idle threats. We don't use warnings as opening positions for negotiation. When Captain Park told you to turn back, that was your opportunity to avoid consequences. But everyone negotiates," Vexthal protested. "That's how spacefaring civilizations interact. You test boundaries, you talk, you reach agreements. Not with humans," Chen said simply. "We come from a world where clear communication meant survival. If a parent told a child not to touch the fire, that child needed to listen the first time. If a hunter warned others about a dangerous predator, everyone needed to take it seriously immediately. We built our entire culture on meaning what we say." She pulled up a holographic display. It showed dozens of incidents over the past century. Ships from various species approaching human borders. Each one received a single, clear warning. Some turned back immediately. Those ships were then welcomed for formal diplomatic contact. Others ignored the warning. Every single one of those ships was dismantled. Their crews safely returned home. You see the pattern? Chen asked. We're not random. We're not cruel. We're absolutely consistent. Respect the warning, and we'll treat you as an honored guest. Ignore it, and you face consequences. But we never, ever, harm people who aren't actively trying to harm us. Vexthal stared at the data. My superiors won't accept this. The Dominion has never tolerated such treatment. Then I suggest your superiors listen to the first warning they receive. Chen replied. Because we won't give them a second one either. You can't enforce this across the galaxy. You're a minor species. Your fleet is small. For the first time, Chen smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Commander, we don't need the largest fleet. We need other species to understand that we keep our word. That when we draw a line, we mean it. That our promises are absolute, both good and bad. She stood up. You'll be transported home tomorrow. I suggest you tell your superiors exactly what happened here. Tell them that humans don't bluff, don't negotiate with trespassers, and don't repeat themselves. Tell them that Captain Park's warning was the only one they'll ever get. Vexthal was escorted back to his quarters. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Captain Park's calm face, the certainty in those words. We do not give second warnings. The next morning, he was brought to another meeting room. This time, his senior officers were there too. Admiral Chen stood with Captain Park, who had traveled from his patrol route to join the meeting. We wanted you to understand something before you leave, Chen said. Captain Park, please explain your decision process that day. Park nodded. When your ships crossed our border, I evaluated the situation. You had weapons, but hadn't fired them. You were testing our boundaries, not attacking our people. That meant you got a warning, one warning, clear, specific, formal. If you'd turned back, we would have initiated proper diplomatic contact. You chose to continue. That ended the conversation. But what if we'd attacked your patrol ship? Vexthal asked. Park's expression went cold. Every human in the room seemed to shift slightly. The temperature in the room felt like it dropped 10 degrees. Then you wouldn't be having this conversation, Chen said quietly. There's a difference between testing and attacking. Testing gets a warning. Attacking gets no warning at all. You crossed into our space. That was testing. If you'd fired on Captain Park, that would have been an act of war, and your entire fleet would have been destroyed, with you in it. The absolute certainty in her voice made Vexthal's blood run cold. We separate intentions clearly, Park added, his voice warmer now. Someone who doesn't know where the boundaries are might make a mistake. We give them the chance to learn. But someone who attacks our people after being warned? That person has made their choice, and we respond accordingly. Minsha, who had been silent until now, spoke up. So humans see a difference between ignorance and aggression? Exactly, Chen said, looking at the junior officer with approval. We understand that not everyone knows our ways. That's why we warn clearly. But once warned, ignorance is no longer an excuse. How do we know you won't change your minds? Vexthal asked. How do we know you'll always follow these rules? Park smiled. Because we're human. We built our entire civilization on keeping our word. Our reputation is our greatest asset. Every species in this region now knows. Humans mean what they say. Our allies trust us completely. Our enemies know exactly where they stand. That consistency is worth more than any weapon. Vexthal was transported back to Calith space in a comfortable human vessel. His crew was well fed, medically checked, and given detailed records of what had happened to their ships. Not propaganda, just facts. Sensor logs, communication transcripts, video of the dismantling process, As the human ship prepared to leave, Admiral Chen sent one final message. Commander Vexthal, I hope you and your people understand now. Humans don't repeat themselves because we don't need to. We say what we mean. We mean what we say. The galaxy is learning this. I hope the Caliph Dominion learns it too, before they make a more serious mistake. Vexthal watched the human ship jump away and wondered if his superiors would listen. Somehow, he doubted it. High Commander Zarketh of the Caliph Dominion listened to Vexthal's report with growing disbelief, then anger, then cold calculation. They dismantled 3 warships. Zarketh said slowly, without firing a single shot. Yes, High Commander, Vexthal replied. He stood at attention in the command center, feeling the weight of failure. They disabled our systems remotely and took our vessels apart piece by piece. And you believe this was because you ignored their warning? The humans were very clear about their position, sir. They say what they mean. They don't negotiate with those who cross their borders after being warned. Zarketh walked to the viewing window that showed the Dominion homeworld below. Beautiful, powerful, the center of an empire that had bent hundreds of species to its will. And now, some upstart human civilization thought they could humiliate Caliph warriors without consequences. They're bluffing, Zarketh said. This was a calculated move against 3 ships to make themselves seem stronger than they are. Send a real fleet, and they'll fold. They'll have to. High Commander, I respectfully disagree, Vexthal said. The humans showed us records. They've done this to 7 other species over the past 50 years. They're consistent. They're serious. Then we'll test how serious they are. Zarketh turned to his strategic officers. Assemble Battle Fleet 7. 20 warships. Full combat loadout. We're going to cross human space and reach the Kepler Belt asteroid fields. Those resources are too valuable to leave untapped because humans have drawn imaginary lines in space. Sir, one of the officers hesitated. Perhaps we should send diplomatic envoys first? Establish formal contact? Why? Zarketh asked coldly. So, they can tell us no? We're the Caliph Dominion. We've been expanding for 3 centuries. We don't ask permission from species who've barely left their home world. We take what we need. Vexthal wanted to protest further but knew it was pointless. Zarketh had made up his mind. The High Commander believed in Caliph superiority absolutely. To him, losing 3 ships was just bad luck or incompetence. A real fleet would succeed where Vexthal had failed. I want to come along, Vexthal said. Zarketh nodded. Good. You can see how a proper commander handles humans. 3 days later, Battle Fleet 7 assembled at the human border. 20 warships, each more powerful than the 3 that had been lost. They carried enough firepower to conquer small civilizations. Zarketh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Times Dominion's Pride asterisk, and felt supremely confident. Send a message to human space, Zarketh ordered. Inform them that the Caliph Dominion will be passing through their territory to reach the Kepler Belt. Any interference will be considered an act of war. The communications officer transmitted the message. They waited. 30 minutes later, a response came. It was text only, no video. The message was simple. This is the United Human Defense Command. You are hereby warned that crossing into human sovereign space without authorization is a violation of our territory. Turn back now. This is your only warning. Zarketh laughed. Their only warning. How generous. Helm. Take us across the border. Standard fleet formation. The 20 Caliph warships crossed into human space. Vexthal stood at a secondary station, watching the sensor displays with a growing sense of dread. He'd seen this before. The calm certainty of human communication. The single, clear warning. The absolute lack of negotiation. Sir, no human ships in sensor range, the sensor officer reported. See, Zarketh said to Vexthal. But Vexthal wasn't reassured. He checked the sensor logs himself. Something bothered him. Sir, I'm not detecting any civilian traffic either. Usually, there are human merchant ships, colony transports, survey vessels. The space is completely empty. They've evacuated, Zarketh said dismissively. They're afraid of our fleet. Or they're clearing the area for a reason, Vexthal muttered. The fleet advanced deeper into human territory. 1 day passed, then 2. Still, no human ships appeared. No more warnings came. The silence was absolute. We're approaching the Kepler belt now, sir, the navigation officer reported. Another 6 hours, and we'll be able to begin mining operations. Zarketh smiled with satisfaction. See how easy it was? The humans were all talk. Sir. The sensor officer's voice was sharp with alarm. I'm detecting massive energy readings. Multiple sources. They're all around us. Human ships? Zarketh demanded. Yes, sir, but they're not warships. I'm reading mining vessels, construction ships, cargo haulers, hundreds of them. They're at the edge of the system, maintaining a perimeter. Vexthal felt his stomach drop. They're not here to fight us. Then what are they here for? Zarketh demanded. Minsha, who had also been assigned to the mission, looked up from her station with wide eyes. Sir, I'm detecting some kind of field generators. They're positioned throughout the system, massive ones. I've never seen technology like this. What kind of field? Vexthal asked, moving to her station. Magnetic, incredibly powerful. They're not active yet. But if they were, Minsha ran the calculations. They could manipulate stellar plasma, shape it, direct it, before anyone could respond. Every screen on every Calith ship suddenly displayed the same image. Admiral Sarah Chen's face. High Commander Zarketh, she said. Her voice was cold and formal. You were warned. You chose to cross our border anyway. We told you we don't repeat warnings. We meant it. She paused, and her eyes seemed to look directly into his soul. You wanted to see what happens when you ignore humans. Now you'll learn. Goodbye. The transmission ended. All ships, battle stations, Zarketh shouted. Lock weapons on those human vessels. Prepare to... Sir, our systems are being jammed, the tactical officer shouted. I can't get a weapons lock. Jump drives are offline. Communications between fleet ships are being disrupted. Vexthal grabbed his console as red alerts screamed throughout the ship. Through the view screen, he saw the human ships activating their equipment. The magnetic field generators came online one by one, creating a web of energy throughout the system. They're surrounding us, Minsha said quietly. They've trapped us in a cage. The star at the center of the system began to change. Its corona brightened, flares erupting from its surface. But these weren't natural flares. They were being shaped, guided, directed by the magnetic fields the humans had created. They're weaponizing the star, Vexthal whispered in horror. A massive wave of electromagnetic energy swept through the system. It wasn't hot enough to burn. It wasn't powerful enough to destroy. But it was perfectly calibrated to do one thing: disable every electronic system on every Calith ship. The lights went out across the fleet. Life support switched to emergency backup. Engines died. Weapons went dark. 20 of the Dominion's finest warships became nothing more than metal coffins floating in space. But the life support still worked. The environmental systems ran on backup power. The crew was safe, just helpless. Through the darkened view screen, Vexthal saw the human ships approaching. Not attacking. Moving in with that same methodical efficiency he'd witnessed before. They were coming to dismantle the fleet, just as they'd dismantled his 3 ships. Zarketh stood frozen at his command chair, unable to comprehend what had happened. The High Commander of the Calith Dominion, who had commanded fleets for 30 years, had been completely, utterly, and efficiently neutralized without a single shot fired by either side. They warned us, Vexthal said quietly. Once. That was all we got. Emergency power kept the life support running. The human ships broadcast instructions in Caliph language. Evacuate to life pods. Cooperate with rescue operations. No one would be harmed. Medical ships were standing by. As Xy'lar helped coordinate the evacuation, he watched Junior Officer Minsha staring out a viewport at the human vessels. "They're not angry," she said, almost to herself. "Look at them. They're just working. Like this is routine maintenance, not a military operation." "That's what scares me most," Xy'lar replied. "They're not emotional about this at all. We crossed their line. They told us once not to. We ignored them. Now they're solving the problem. Simple as that. But they could have destroyed us," Minsha said. "That star weapon could have been adjusted to kill us all." "I know," Xy'lar said. "They separate testing from attacking. We tested their boundaries. If we'd actually harmed humans, actually attacked their colonies," he shuddered, "then we'd all be dead. Admiral Chen said as much to me. They gave us the warning. That's more than they'd give someone who actually hurts their people." Zarketh finally moved, turning to face Xy'lar. The High Commander's face was pale with shock. "This isn't possible," Zarketh said. "We're the Caliph Dominion. We don't lose to a species that means what they say," Xy'lar finished. "We just did, sir. Because we didn't listen." The human rescue ships moved through the disabled Caliph fleet. With practiced efficiency, life pods were collected, crews were processed, and everyone was given medical attention. Xy'lar watched as his fellow Caliph warriors were treated with courtesy and care. The humans weren't gloating. They weren't cruel. They were just doing their job. High Commander Zarketh sat in a human medical bay, silent and stunned. A human doctor checked his vital signs and declared him healthy. The doctor spoke perfect Caliph and showed no hostility, just professional concern. "You're in good health, Commander," the doctor said. "If you need anything, just ask the staff. We'll be transporting you back to Caliph space within the week." Zarketh didn't respond. He stared at the wall like he couldn't process what had happened. Xy'lar found Minsha in one of the observation rooms that the humans had opened for the Caliph crews. She was watching through the transparent wall as human engineering ships carefully dismantled the warships. Every piece was catalogued, stored, and loaded onto cargo vessels. "They're very thorough," Minsha said as Xy'lar joined her. "They're not destroying anything unnecessarily. Just taking apart the ships. Systematically. They'll sell the parts," Xy'lar said. "That's what Admiral Chen told me last time. They recoup their operational costs. It's so strange," Minsha said. "This entire operation must cost enormous resources. The magnetic field generators, the fleet coordination, the rescue operations, all to respond to border violations without killing anyone. Because that's their point," a voice said behind them. They turned to find Admiral Chen standing in the doorway. She entered the observation room and stood beside them, looking out at the dismantling operation. "We could have destroyed your fleet," Chen said quietly. "We could have killed everyone aboard. It would have been easier, actually. Cheaper. But that's not who we are." "Then who are you?" Minsha asked. Her voice held genuine curiosity, not hostility. Chen was quiet for a moment, watching her crews work. "We're the species that learn to survive by keeping our word. On Earth, our homeworld, humans lived in small groups for hundreds of thousands of years. Trust was everything. If you said you'd help someone hunt, you had to mean it. If you warned someone about danger, they needed to believe you immediately. If you broke your word, the whole group suffered." She turned to face them. "We built our entire civilization on that foundation. Our word is our bond. When we promise friendship, we mean it absolutely. When we draw a boundary, we mean that too. We don't negotiate with people who ignore clear warnings, because that would teach everyone that our warnings don't mean anything." "But you're letting us live," Xy'lar said. "Why?" "Because you tested our boundaries. You didn't attack our people. There's a difference. Chen's expression hardened. If you had fired on Captain Park's ship, if you'd attacked New Harmony, if you'd harmed any human civilians, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd all be dead, and your homeworld would know that the Caliph Dominion had declared war on humanity. The cold certainty in her voice made both Caliph officers step back. We separate intentions clearly, Chen continued. Someone who doesn't know where the line is might cross it accidentally. We warn them once. Clearly. Specifically. If they turn back, we welcome them properly. If they continue, we remove their ability to threaten us. But we don't kill them. Because they were testing, not attacking. What if someone attacks after being warned? Minsha asked quietly. Chen's eyes went cold. Then, they've made their choice. They've shown they understand violence is their answer. We respond in kind. But we don't give warnings first. You don't warn someone who's already trying to kill you. You protect yourself and your people. So humans have two modes, Vexthal said slowly, understanding. Warning once for those who are testing. And no warning at all for those who are attacking. Exactly, Chen said. It's simple. It's clear. And it's completely consistent. Every species in this region of space now knows. Humans mean what they say. Our friends trust us absolutely. Our potential enemies know exactly where they stand. A request came through Chen's communicator. She listened briefly, then nodded. High Commander Zarketh has requested a meeting. I thought you two might want to be present. They followed Chen to a larger conference room. Zarketh was already there, sitting at the table. He looked different. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something else. Confusion, maybe. Or the beginning of understanding. Chen sat across from him. Vexthal and Minsha took seats to the side. I want to understand, Zarketh said. His voice was hoarse. The Caliph Dominion is one of the most powerful empires in this region. We have subjugated hundreds of species. And you stopped 20 warships without firing a shot. Yes, Chen said simply. How? Because we prepared, Chen said. When your 3 ships crossed our border the first time, we knew you'd probably try again with more force. So we prepared this system as a trap. We evacuated all civilians. We positioned our equipment. We calculated exactly what kind of electromagnetic pulse would disable your ships without harming your crews. And then we waited for you to ignore the warning we knew we'd only give once. You knew we'd come, Vexthal said, realization dawning. You counted on it. We know how most species think, Chen said. They see warnings as opening negotiating positions. They test boundaries. Because they've learned that most species don't really mean what they say. But humans, we built our reputation deliberately. We want everyone to know. We don't bluff. This is madness, Zarketh said. You can't run an interstellar civilization on absolute statements. You need flexibility, negotiation, compromise. We negotiate plenty, Chen replied. With species who respect our borders. With friends and allies. With trading partners. We're very flexible in proper diplomatic channels. But we don't negotiate with trespassers. That's the line. Cross our border without permission after being warned. And you face consequences. It's that simple. But why? Zarketh demanded. Why be so rigid about this one thing? Chen leaned forward. Because if we negotiate with you, we teach everyone that our warnings don't mean anything. Next time, someone crosses our border and we warn them, they'll remember that the Caliph got away with it, so they'll push harder. Eventually, someone will attack civilians thinking we don't really enforce our boundaries. And then, people die. She pulled up a holographic display showing a graph. This is the border violation data for the past century. First 50 years, before we established our reputation, we had an average of 40 violations per year. Species kept testing us because they didn't believe we meant what we said. Now, In the past 10 years? An average of 3 violations per year. And 2 of those were navigation errors that we corrected peacefully because the ships responded immediately to our warning. You've trained the galaxy, Minsha said softly. We've taught the galaxy that we're consistent, Chen corrected. That our word means something. It makes us trustworthy to friends and completely predictable to potential enemies. Both are valuable. What happens now? Zarketh asked. You go home, Chen said. With your crews, alive and healthy. Your ships are being dismantled. The parts will be sold. We'll give you the accounting, if you want it. In about 3 days, you'll be transported back to Calith space. And then? Then you decide, Chen said. You can try again, with more ships, and we'll respond the same way. We'll keep doing this until you run out of ships, or learn to respect our boundaries, or you can approach our border properly, request formal diplomatic contact, and we'll welcome you as guests. The choice is entirely yours. You'd welcome us? After this? Vexthal asked. Of course, Chen said. You tested our boundaries. We responded. The situation is resolved. If you want to establish proper relations, respect our warnings, and engage through diplomatic channels, we're happy to talk. We're not holding grudges. We're just enforcing our borders. She stood up. The Calith Dominion is learning what every species eventually learns about humans. We say what we mean. We mean what we say. Our promises are absolute. Our threats are real. Our friendships are genuine. And we never, ever, repeat ourselves. Chen walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Commander Vexthal? Captain Park sends his regards. He said to tell you that he respects you for coming back to try to warn your superiors. That takes courage. After Chen left, the 3 Calith officers sat in silence. Finally, Minsha spoke. I want to request political asylum with humanity. Both male officers stared at her. I'm serious, she said. These humans, they've built something remarkable. A civilization based on meaning what you say. On absolute reliability. I want to learn more. I want to be part of it. You'd betray the Dominion? Zarketh asked. I'd betray a system that doesn't keep its word, Minsha replied. The Dominion makes promises and breaks them. Makes threats we don't follow through on. Tests boundaries we shouldn't cross. The humans? They've shown me something different. Something better. Vexthal looked at the young officer with new respect. You know they'll grant your asylum. They protect those who come to them honestly. I know, Minsha said. Because they mean what they say. 3 days later, the Calith crews were transported back to their space aboard human vessels. They were given detailed reports of what had happened, medical records showing they'd been treated well, and even meal vouchers for the Calith stations they'd be arriving at. The humans had thought of everything. Minsha stayed behind. Admiral Chen personally processed her asylum request in a small office aboard the human diplomatic ship. Captain Park was there too, along with a human official from the Immigration and Integration Department. You understand what you're asking? Chen said, not unkindly. You'll be leaving your entire life behind. Your family, your home, your career, in the Dominion. I understand, Minsha said firmly. I've watched humans keep their word twice now. Once, when Commander Vexthal's ships were dismantled, and again, when High Commander Zarketh's fleet was disabled. Both times, you did exactly what you said you'd do. No more, no less. I want to be part of a civilization that works that way. Park smiled slightly. You'll find we're not perfect. We argue. We make mistakes. We disagree with each other constantly. But yes, we try very hard to mean what we say. That's all I'm asking for, Minsha replied. Chen approved the asylum request. Welcome to human space, Minsha. Officially. The young Calith officer felt something loosen in her chest. relief, hope, a sense of having made the right choice. "Can I ask you something?" Min-sha said to Captain Park. "That first day, when you warned Commander Vexthal, you seemed so certain. How did you know we'd ignore the warning?" Park thought for a moment. "I didn't know for sure, but I understood the situation. The Caliph Dominion had a successful strategy that worked on dozens of species. You expected us to negotiate because everyone else did. So I gave you the clearest, most formal warning I could, and then I reported your violation and waited to see what you'd choose. And if we'd turned back, then I would have requested that Admiral Chen send a proper diplomatic envoy to your space," Park said. "We would have welcomed formal contact. But you didn't turn back. So we responded appropriately." "My people see this as weakness," Min-sha said. "They think you're too rigid, too absolute." "Let them think that," Chen said. "Meanwhile, we're building a reputation across the galaxy. Species know that humans mean what they say. Our allies trust us completely. Our enemies know exactly what we'll do. And beings like you, who value honesty and consistency, seek us out." Over the next 6 months, the story of what happened to the Caliph Dominion spread throughout the region. Other species heard about the 20 warships disabled without a shot fired. They heard about the crews returned safely. They heard about the single, clear warning that preceded everything. And they started to change their behavior. A species called the Ven approached human borders for the first time. Their scout ship received a standard warning from a human patrol vessel. The scout immediately turned back, then transmitted a formal request for diplomatic contact. The human response came within hours. "Your respect for our warning is noted and appreciated. We welcome formal diplomatic discussion. Please proceed to the following coordinates where our envoy will meet you." The Ven delegation was treated with extraordinary courtesy. They negotiated a trading agreement and established an embassy within human space. When asked about their experience, the Ven ambassador said simply, "Humans told us their boundaries. We respected them. Everything else was easy." Another species, the Xy'lar, tried the old approach. They sent 6 ships across human borders without permission. They received one warning. They ignored it. Their ships were dismantled within 8 hours. Crews safely returned home. The Xy'lar government lodged a formal protest with the Galactic Council. Admiral Chen attended the council session. She stood before representatives of 100 species and played the recordings. The warning, the violation, the response, the safe return of all Xy'lar personnel. "We gave them exactly what we said we'd give them," Chen stated. "One warning. Clear consequences for ignoring it. Safe treatment of all individuals. Where is the injustice?" "You're too rigid," the Xy'lar representative argued. "Civilized species negotiate." "We do negotiate," Chen replied. "Through proper diplomatic channels. What we don't do is negotiate with those who violate our clearly stated boundaries. If that makes us rigid, so be it. But it also makes us trustworthy. Every species here knows exactly what to expect from humans. Can you all say the same about each other?" 5. "I'm Manding." "Well, 5. The council chamber fell silent, because she was right. Most species made threats they didn't follow through on, made promises they didn't keep, changed positions based on convenience. But humans? They were absolutely consistent. We're not asking anyone else to adopt our approach," Chen continued. "But we're also not changing it. This is who we are. This is how we operate. Species who respect, that have excellent relations with us. Species who don't, face predictable consequences. It's your choice how you interact with humanity." The Galactic Council ultimately declined to censure humanity. Too many species had positive experiences with human reliability. Too many valued having one civilization they could absolutely count on. Min-sha, now working as a cultural liaison in the Human Diplomatic Corps, watched the council session with Captain Park. "The Dominion still hasn't approached us formally," Minsha said. "They're too proud." "They will eventually," Park replied. "Or they'll keep testing and keep losing ships. Either way, they'll learn." "Do you ever worry that someone will see your consistency as a weakness to exploit?" Park smiled. "All the time. But here's what people misunderstand about humans. Yes, we give one warning for boundary violations. Yes, we treat those people with care and return them safely. But if someone actually attacks our civilians, actually tries to harm our people, after understanding who we are?" His expression went cold. "No. Then we show the other side of keeping our word. The side that means our promises of protection are just as absolute as our warnings." "Has that ever happened?" "Once," Park said quietly. "A pirate group thought our restraint meant we were weak. They attacked a human colony ship carrying 5,000 civilians, including children, after we'd warned them multiple times to stay out of our space. What happened? We didn't warn them again. We found their base. We destroyed it completely. Every ship, every station, every member of that pirate group. We made sure the entire galaxy knew. Test humans if you must, but harm our people. And there's no negotiation, no warning, no mercy." Min Shah felt a chill run down her spine. "We don't advertise that side," Park continued. "We prefer to be known for our restraint and reliability. But it's there. It's always there. We protect our own absolutely, just like we enforce our boundaries absolutely. It's the same principle. We mean what we say." 6 months after the incident with the Xy'lar Dominion, a new species called the Travek sent a ship toward human space. They were explorers, curious about these humans everyone was talking about. Their ship approached the border carefully. A human patrol vessel, commanded by a captain named Li Ji-1, appeared on their sensors. "Travek vessel. You are approaching the boundary of human sovereign space. If you wish to cross for legitimate purposes, please state your intentions and await authorization. Unauthorized crossing will result in immediate consequences." The Travek captain, an individual named Xy'lar, responded immediately. "Human vessel. We are explorers, seeking to learn about your civilization. We request permission to approach and initiate first contact protocols." There was a brief pause. Then Captain Li responded, and Xy'lar could hear the warmth in her voice. "Permission granted, Travek vessel. Welcome to human space. Please proceed to the following coordinates. We're sending an escort ship to guide you. We look forward to meeting you." Xy'lar felt relief wash over him. "We heard you only give one warning." "We do," Li replied. "But you listened to the first thing we said. You stated your intentions clearly and waited for permission. That's exactly the kind of interaction we hope for. You're going to have a very different experience than some other species have had." The Travek delegation was welcomed with genuine warmth. They met with human diplomats, toured human stations, and experienced human hospitality firsthand. When they left 2 weeks later, they carried with them a friendship treaty and trading agreements. "Why were they so kind to us?" one young Travek asked Xy'lar on the journey home. "Because we listened," Xy'lar replied. "We respected their boundaries. We communicated clearly. They responded in kind. Humans are consistent. They're exactly as welcoming to friends as they are firm with those who disrespect them. So the secret to dealing with humans is just listening and meaning what you say in return," Xy'lar added. "They value honesty and reliability above everything else. Give them that, and they'll be the best allies you could ask for." Back in human space, Admiral Chen reviewed the reports from the past year. Border violations were down to near zero. Diplomatic requests were up significantly. Trading partnerships were flourishing. And humanity's reputation as a species that meant what it said was solidifying across the region. She met with Captain Park in her office. "The strategy is working," she said. "Not because we're aggressive or because we have the biggest fleet, but because we're consistent, trustworthy, predictable, in the best way. My ancestors had a saying, Park replied. Words once spoken cannot be taken back. We choose our words carefully because we honor them absolutely. And the galaxy is learning, Chen said. Some species learn by watching others make mistakes. Some learn by making mistakes themselves. But they're all learning the same lesson. Humans don't repeat themselves because we don't need to. She pulled up a star map showing human space and the surrounding regions. Dozens of species were marked in green, indicating friendly relations. A handful were marked in yellow, indicating caution. The Xy'lar Dominion was still yellow. Think they'll ever approach us properly? Chen asked. Eventually, Park said. Pride can only last so long against practical reality. They can keep losing ships. Or, they can knock on our door politely. It's their choice. And if they choose more aggression, then we keep responding exactly as we have been, Park said simply. We're not changing who we are. We're not compromising our principles. We say what we mean. We mean what we say. That's the foundation of everything. Chen nodded, looking out at the stars. You know what's remarkable? We've become a major diplomatic power, not through conquest or intimidation, but through simple honesty. We drew our lines clearly. We enforce them consistently. We keep our promises absolutely. And that's made us more influential than any weapon could. That's humanity, Park said with a smile. We learned long ago that your word is your most valuable possession. Break it, and you lose everything. Keep it, and you gain the trust of the galaxy. Somewhere in that galaxy, species were still learning what it meant to interact with humans. Some learned by watching. Some learned by testing. But they all learned the same truth eventually. When humans speak, they mean every word. When they warn once. When they promise friendship, it's genuine. When they draw a line, it's real. They don't negotiate with trespassers, but they welcome honest visitors with open arms. They separate testing from attacking, ignorance from aggression, and they respond to each with perfect consistency. They built their reputation carefully, deliberately, and absolutely. And now, across hundreds of star systems, species were learning a simple lesson that would reshape galactic diplomacy. Humans don't repeat themselves. They don't need to. Their word is enough.